Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone. Welcome to the Game Week 12 pod of the FPL Wire. I'm your host, Zofa, and I'm joined by my co host, Late Riser, who, as you can see, is showing off his new room. Project finally done, LR?
Oh, finally done. I mean, the last 2 months I was living like a contractor because my sister was doing up the room and she doesn't live in the city. God bless her. I'm an uncle now because she just delivered my nephew a week ago. So congratulations to her. Congratulations, Rajvi. But I'm so glad it's done. I'm so glad I can just live because you know how it is the last month you moved in recently. It gets hectic, man. It really, really gets hectic. And it's the small things that uh, keep taking time. But
And
here
nothing
we
gets
are.
done in time in India, man.
Nothing gets done. I mean, that said, the cost of labor here is cheap compared to what everybody else is paying. So give and take, I guess. Settled in the new house of yourself.
Yes.
I see Lampard's right behind you now, right above you now. It was a little in the corner earlier,
Yeah, it's
but
difficult to fit him in the frame otherwise. If I put him a little bit to the side, it messes up with the alignment of the rest of the room. So he's right up there. Doesn't feel the same without him. Finally got the wired internet working. That was a big relief. I know we had some tech issues. It's going to be all smooth from here on. But yeah, let's talk about the game week that just went, man. What a week. 20 points for me, 23 for you. Am I right?
yeah, 23 for me.
Yeah.
It's all about Harry Maguire. Like that was the only decision I had all week, and I managed to get that right. God bless Maguire. But are you bothered by this week at all? Like,
Not so much
does it
because
even?
everybody did rubbish. We didn't have Pruss on because he did better than us today. We couldn't have him here with 30 points plus, showing that off. So, we sorry, Pruss. But yeah, in general, man, everybody did poor, so it doesn't feel as bad. I think the most I'm seeing in the mini league, some people have got like 30 or that's like what, 10, 12 points, one player haul. Stuff like this happens.
Exactly. And when people are making comparisons and feeling bad about them teams and sitting in sympathy and all of that, and saying things like, what, this guy's score is thrice the score of mine, is twice the score of mine. I mean, that's 10 points
Yeah.
or 20 points.
It's like saying
It
somebody
doesn't.
scored double 2 points when you've got 1 point. Yeah, that guy scored double. It's the same thing.
It doesn't just matter at all, and everybody had good teams. The fixtures were pretty decent. It reminded me of the. Have you seen the Fire Festival
Yeah, the
documentary
docu. Yep.
on Netflix? Like everybody's geared up for this week. Everybody's got great teams, and it was just a disaster. But everybody went through that disaster, and if everybody goes through that disaster, it doesn't matter. That's all.
Yep. Imagine if Salah would have hauled or something like that. We would have had a swingy thing, right? We've seen those weeks in the past when the popular, like your Havertz blanks, Salah mega hauls. It definitely wasn't a polarizing week like that. Those are the weeks that really hit.
Yeah, I don't think anybody must have had a massive shift in rank either. Like I think the amount of ground you must have lost this week, you probably cover it in the coming week. It's a momentum shift of one game week
Yeah,
in
but the
terms of
ranks are so
some.
condensed. So I think the rank jumps
Yeah,
would have still been there because 10 points still means a big jump in rank per se because it's all very
yeah.
close together.
Right. Fair enough. How's the week looking for you coming ahead? Teams well set up?
Yeah, we'll talk about it, but let's talk about all the various issues. We have a lot to talk about different teams. There's a bit of a fixture swing and congestion coming right after this international break. So we'll touch upon that as well. Let's kick off with our sponsor plug.
As you see, all the stats on our podcast are from the Fantasy Football Scout members area. Neil just did an amazing members article citing the big numbers. Some really, really interesting stats on that one. I'm going to use them throughout the course of this podcast as well. Thanks, Neil, for all the work you do. I know he listens to us as well. He's also done a great article on Newcastle United because a lot of people are interested in Newcastle. A lot of people are wondering what's going to happen with Lascelles, Livramento, Hall. We're going to cover that as well. But he's a Newcastle fan, and he did again. I think it was a members article that was really long, very very thorough. So it's not just the stats that you're buying when you're becoming a member of Fantasy Football Scout. It's these detailed, long reads. If you're into them, I think it's worthwhile. Click on the link in the description below and become a member.
We have also partnered with NordVPN. If you're bored of the streaming libraries available in your country, you can expand your selection using NordVPN with a click of a button. There are over 5,000 plus server options available and no content is out of your reach. Privacy is a big deal too for all of us. Nord keeps your data encrypted and your IP address hidden to ensure complete privacy while you're browsing the internet. There's also a new threat protection feature. You can say goodbye to intrusive website ads and malware. Even if you download an infected file, threat protection kicks in and deletes it before it makes a mess of your computer. If you sign up using our creator code nordvpn.com/FPL Wire, you get a huge discount off your NordVPN plan plus 4 additional months for free. They also offer a 30-day money-back guarantee.
Throw in a like and subscribe plug as well. They listen to you. They always listen to you.
Right, guys. I mean, I'd like to say the like plug before we get into it, but just to put it out there, please give us the like, hit the subscribe button, lot more content. Hopefully, we'll be doing something over the international break. Any plans content-wise?
We'll do something. We'll do something. It's a little bit of a break here as well. Got free time on hand with it being Diwali and whatnot. So I think let's do a reaction pod to what happened on Saturday, Sunday, maybe Tuesday or something of that sort,
Yeah,
and then
post
we'll
Diwali,
get
probably something like Thursday. Let's do that.
yeah, and then we'll get a guest in at some point this week. Let's
Done.
do that. It's been a while.
Done. Done. Where should we start? Should we start with Arsenal? They're the big ones this
Yeah,
week.
let's Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are talking about it. I mean, we've received questions on Twitter. We've received questions from Adam Hopcroft from the Green Arrow podcast as well, in terms of what do you just do with Saka? And it's a question we've been wondering. I mean, you, Baker, Pras, Dan, and I have been chatting in terms of what to do with Arsenal as well. You're sitting on Saka and Martinelli. After yesterday's performance against Sevilla, I feel a lot better than I did during the course of the week. You've been sitting with Madison, who I think is the better pick, probably, or was the better pick. And you've been thinking of getting to Saka. Where are you at right now? What's up with Arsenal's attack? Is it going to improve? Is the fixture going to? What's your opinion there? What do you?
I think we've been saying from game week one, Arsenal and the 3 plus XG teams that they were last year. But they're still a functioning attack, and I think they're still very much flat track bullies. I didn't expect them to score more than a goal maximum at Newcastle, and we saw that's what it is. The difficult away games, they still find it not as easy to score goals, but at home, I think they will put teams to the sword. We saw them score 5s versus Sheffield United. There'll probably be 3 or 4 against Burnley. And it's a fixture thing, right? You look at the fixtures, it's Burnley, Brentford, Wolves, Luton, Villa, who we saw play a very high line again. They can be got at. Brighton haven't kept a clean sheet. So up to game week 17, Liverpool away is probably the only tough fixture I see over there. The fixtures are really good. I think you need to get at least one, if not two. I'm not worried as much
Yeah,
about their attack.
yeah, I thought that when I doubled up on their attacks. It's been Sheffield United and Newcastle. I'm sitting on one assist from two attackers so far. So just to contextualize the whole thing, there are a few factors at play, right? And I think two, three things that we need to address is their midfield's changed. They had Zaka and Party in place of Rice and Jorginho, who are playing at the moment. I think the midfield, and Odegaard's not playing either, and we've got Kai playing right now. So their entire midfield has changed compared to last season. And from an FPL point of view, from a team chemistry point of view, the midfield last year was just objectively better. We don't know what Odegaard's fitness looks like at the moment. And obviously, we're talking about guys that are used to playing with each other. So there's that. Again, we've famously cited on this podcast quite a few times, that Martinelli, Jesus, and Saka haven't played many minutes together this season, and like there's not much more proof you require to understand that Jesus is just great for Martinelli and Saka. Not just Martinelli and Saka, and necktie isn't really good for them. It just changes the time. Like what happens when Nectar is playing is Martinelli and Saka are playing potentially 80-85 minutes as forward wingers, but they're wingers. And they come in a lot, but there isn't rotation that happens when it happens with a Nectar, with a Jesus, with a Trossard, where they get 30-40 minutes coming inside. There's a substantial percentage of the game being played as a striker due to the rotation that happens. And I think it tones down their ability as FPL picks, is what I've noticed. But the good thing is now we don't know what Nectar's fitness is going to look like. He's you'd say 50-50 off for the
Yep.
game
The
at the
last update
weekend.
we have from Arteta post the Champions League game is they're in a race to be fit for the weekend. They couldn't be available, but they're trying to make it, which doesn't indicate a start to me per se. And I
Yeah,
think it's going to be Trossard, and I like Trossard for the two wingers as well. It's very similar to
exactly.
Jesus in bringing them in play.
Exactly. It's the closest there is to Gabriel Jesus, and I like that. And you'd think that you'd get away picking Arsenal attackers right now because Gabriel Jesus is picked for the Brazilian squad. So you think that post the international break, he's going to be back. Once he's back, it's actually probably better for the two wingers as well. Saka actually, he's been looking rubbish except for last night for a long time. Like, I was talking to the Arsenal fans on a Discord. I was talking to Sanket. I'm like, is he playing within himself? Is he carrying something? Because he's not doing much. He wasn't able to beat Dan Burn when playing Newcastle. Wasn't able to take him on, and that's not Bukayo Saka. That's not the guy we know. I mean, he barely has any touches inside the box, etc. Last night was the first signs we saw of him coming back. Where are you at with him? Are you definitely getting him Are you worried about what's the fitness news we have on Saka? First of all, why don't you update our listeners?
So what happened yesterday? He took a bunch of kicks, but when he really asked to be subbed off was when it was a landing. So it wasn't any direct impact or something like a muscle injury where you pull up and asked to be substituted. So I think he's going to be available for this weekend. He is probably carrying something, which is probably that impact of landing probably aggravated it. But I want him. I think he's coming in. The question is what we've been asked a lot on Twitter is, do you get him in for a hit or somebody like a Madison? Should we talk about Spurs a little bit now? Because that question is a bit interlinked.
Yeah, we can talk about it, but just objectively speaking, the sort of reliance you want on Arsenal picks at the moment is a little bit of a shot in the dark, faith on what happened last year rather than faith on proof that we've on what we've seen this season. This season, Arsenal haven't been as good in attack. So, if you get in on them and they still don't get you points, it won't be surprising right now is where I am, right? It's not like a, and I wrote about this for the Scout last week where I said that this is such a subjective season in terms of when you're making your moves. I mean, since the last 2 weeks, you've been thinking about buying Saka, and I've been thinking about selling Saka at some point to fund Son, and neither are objectively wrong. Like this is the season of subjectivity in terms of you have a certain opinion, it could be right or wrong. It isn't blatantly black or white. It's all gray at the moment because of the kind of picks we have. So where I'm staying at the moment, the long shot, or not the long shot, the faith that you're showing in an Arsenal is slightly more substantiated, provided Nketiah, people in the chat want me to use the right pronunciation, so I'm going to do that. Looks unlikely to play against Burnley, and Burnley are probably the best fixture you can have for your attackers this season, I reckon, especially for wingers because of how they like to play, right? The company's not shown any signs of being practical whatsoever. So you like that, and you hold on to the fact that Gabriel Jesus is going to be back fit post international break, which is good for the wingers. I think if you hold on to these two pieces of information, I can buy into going for a Bukayo Saka, and I'd probably sell a
It's
Madison for him
fixtures
because
also,
now,
man. I think you have to throw fixtures in there also. Like we discussed, the only difficult, you could say Brentford away is slightly difficult, but Arsenal have showed up there the last season. I remember, I think they won 3-0 at Brentford. They have this whole thing going there since the whole Ivan Toney tweet when a
yeah,
couple of years ago. And even you look at the projected goals and clean sheet odds, this is from Rob T FPL. Now you see Arsenal are 2.65 goals projection. That's just slightly lower than Brighton, who are 2.75. So the bookies still think they are a good attack. And again, against the
yeah,
weaker opposition or teams that are below 8th to 10th in the table, I trust Arsenal.
yeah. I think this fixture is the money fixture. So if you're looking to buy an Arsenal attacker, you get in this week. I think your opinion maybe be different next week. And the bookies are generally slow to respond to this, right? They hold on to historical data a lot more in terms of being reactive to what's actually happening on the field. I don't mind selling a Madison for him, but Hopcroft was Adam was asking, would you sell a Son for a Saka? Son is objectively the better pick, and nothing in terms of what happens to Spurs with regards to injury and whether we are expecting a downturn in performance from them uh, is going to change the fact that Son's just a better pick compared to Bukayo Saka, in my opinion. Whether Madison's fit or not, all of that is separate. Is where I stand. What's your take?
Not entirely. If Madison is ruled out for a longer period, I'd consider making the move. If it's just one
Even
game
for
week, I'm
Son.
not that bothered. Yes, I would consider Son to Saka for the next 3-4 game weeks if we get news that Madison is out for that period.
Ah, I'm far away from that opinion personally.
It's
In
a bit
just
of
in
the
terms
grass
of
is greener on the other side, right? I think that's what I'm
yeah,
seeing a little bit over here. Since you don't own Son, you're coveting him a bit more, and it's vice versa
yeah.
with Saka for me.
Also, what happens right when I'm owning Saka since the last two matches, when I'm watching Arsenal play, when you own your FPL players, you tend to watch them in sort of like a tunnel vision.
Tunnel
Most of the
vision.
times,
Yeah.
it's frustrating. He's just wide. He's not coming in. He's not beating his man. I am sitting there wondering, except for penalties, where are the points going to come from? I literally and objectively, what I've seen in the last 4 or 5 weeks, Martinelli looks sharper. Martinelli looks more involved. Martinelli looks the better pick. He just looks the better pick. He looks hungrier, fitter. But Saka showed himself yesterday. So it. depends on what you want to believe, right? You believe your story, whether you want to believe yesterday and the historical of last year, or whether you want to believe what's been happening in the last 5, 6 weeks. Saka is the more objectively better player, more refined, more there. But Varun from our Discord, who does the fabulous thumbnails and the design that he's been doing for us this season. Shout out to Varun. Thank you for the great work you've done. He asked us Martinelli was Saka. I don't, if you ask me maybe 3 weeks ago, I would bluntly say Saka. He's the better pick. But like the question you need to ask yourself now is, are you really going to captain Saka over Haaland or Salah any week? I don't have that confidence at all at the moment.
This week,
Now, if
maybe
that,
we'll talk about it. I think if the fitness wasn't an issue, I'd have gone there.
oh wow, I just don't think it's a captaincy pick. How like Zoff, he hasn't had a shot since game week 7. He barely gets in the box. Like he had a couple of shots
Yeah,
yesterday,
but let's look
but
the fixtures from game week 7 onwards. You're talking about, I think game week 8 was Chelsea, or game week 9 was Chelsea, and then we missed one. The name was City. Also, no, City was game week 8, Chelsea was game week 9, Sheffield United was game week 10, and Newcastle was game week 11, right? So 3 of those fixtures, one he missed. That stat
Yeah.
seems a little bit cherry picked to me.
Yeah, but even if you're looking at Sheffield United, his XGI against Sheffield United was 0.06, where he had 0 XG, 0.06 XA. Like even Bournemouth away, he had 0.7 X. Sorry,
But
his XGI was 1.
He had one very close chance, but he gave up 2 penalties also that game, right?
Yeah, yeah. Ah,
I
Like,
think it's
I
Saka,
want,
man. I like Saka because ultimately now the fixture congestion is coming. We know that game week 15 is a midweek, bunch of fixtures in December. I just think Saka is the clear top dog. But when it comes to the second Arsenal picks, I would say even the third Arsenal pick, we can say, because it's a bit trickier. Do you go for the defense or their attack? And I think we need to talk about the defense, how good it's been.
it might not be as simple as that. Like let me state an example for you. Let's say Madison's fit, okay, and you either need to move a Madison up to Saka, or let's say a Diaby or someone of that sort to a Martinelli. You know what I'm saying? Just because I know, I just don't trust the Arsenal attackers as much as I trust the Liverpool best attack in the league this season, or Haaland. And I think it's fine. And especially because Martinelli's showing signs of being fit and being good again. And you would hope that post game week 12, he plays with Gabriel Jesus. Now it depends on whether that 1 million is, I think, the price difference is going to be made up in pens, and Saka's class and what he's shown as his capacity and capability in the last 2 years. That's the call you make. Push comes to shove, I still think penalties matter, especially what we've seen this season. Arsenal do have the kind of players that win penalties as well, especially with Jesus back. I'd say Saka, but I wouldn't be against anybody wanting to go for Martinelli is where I am.
I can appreciate the Martinelli thing, and I think again the Trippier thing I keep going back to. Right before the good Trippier run, we said you get, when the team has the best fixture run, you get the top dog. You get the best asset with the best ceiling, and I think this is Arsenal's best fixture stretch so far. That's why I'm so big on Saka there. I don't want to compromise on the team with the best fixture run for the next 5-6 weeks.
Yeah. Like one red flag to this situation is, let's say in the press conference tomorrow, Arteta tells us that Gabriel Jesus has had a setback, etc., and he's looking to be out for 3 or 4 more weeks. Like that would worry me. Like having 3 or 4 game weeks of Arsenal wingers with Nectar as a striker would worry me. Like that's a red flag. Like if something like that comes up as news, I would worry more.
A little bit, but it still wouldn't put me off, because you will see Trossard thrown in there a few games. You will see Havertz thrown in there with so many fixtures coming. It would definitely diminish my expectations, but it wouldn't put me off Saka still.
Fair enough. And Bagan Boy on Twitter asked me a question. He owns Saka and Gabriel. If you're looking for a third pick to go at the fixtures, I've been thinking about this. Do you go second defender, second attacker?
It all depends on who you have already in defense, because there are two ways to look at it, right? Clean sheets are hard to come by, so you could say just ignore defense, play with whoever is there. I won't bother with it. The midfield is where the points is. I think I was reading that 16 of the top scorers are from midfield. Baker sent me that stat. I'll look for it later. But the points are there in midfielders. The defenders, if you look at it, is just Trippier who's over 50 points. None of the other guys are even close to him. So that is something to consider. But there's some defensive stats we do want to share on Arsenal that are interesting. 40.1% of the shots on target that Arsenal have faced this season have resulted in goals. Between them, Raya and Ramsdale have the worst save percentage of any club's goalkeepers. The good news is the defense is making life tough for them. Gunners are amongst the top three for shots conceded, shots in the box conceded, big chances, and shots on target conceded. Are you back with us, LR?
I'm back with you.
So I was just reading out Neil's stats from the big numbers about how good Arsenal's defense has been, and from the fireside chat that the FML FPL guys had also, that was the indication that they're very
Yeah.
much a defense first side now. But my problem is the upside, right? If I'm getting that other second defender, I want somebody with upside. Saliba doesn't seem to have that. Ben White's is way too expensive.
Also, just look at the fixtures, right? I want to play it out to you. Like against Burnley at home, you'd rather have an attacker than a defender. Is where we are, because there that could be a double, triple return game for somebody. After that, we have Brentford, Wolves, and Luton, which are probably clean sheet games. You know, this in 16, 17, 18, Arsenal have Villa away, Brighton at home, Liverpool away. However pragmatic and good they are, and they're sort of playing a defense first game, maybe they keep one clean sheet in these three games, looking at the opposition, is what you'd presume. But you're talking about Villa, Brighton, Liverpool. You actually don't mind your attackers playing these three teams at any point because they like to play. They play on the front foot as well. It might open a space for the wingers. Gabriel Jesus will likely play because of how important these games are in such games. You don't mind your attacker there. So I don't mind a punt on an attacker just for this run because I feel like longer term until game week 18 you're happier to hold on to the attacker because if you're arriving at game week 15 and you're seeing Villa, Brighton and Liverpool ahead of you for your Arsenal defender, you're probably going to shift that defender. But if you're going to own that attacker, you're probably going to hold him through that fixture run as well. So there is that argument also in my head.
The attacker's only Martinelli, right? Because Nketiah, we expect him to lose his spot sometime in December, even if Jesus isn't fit with the other options they have. So it's only Martinelli? Because
Only
Odegaard,
Martinelli.
we don't know what's happening with the fitness there even.
Yeah, only Martinelli is the attacker that you're looking for, and he looks like he's coming into home. But all of this depends on injury news that we might receive. I don't mind going for one defender, and that's Ben White. I think he might be worth the outlay even against Sevilla. He was making a lot of runs on the outside and crossing, and these are sort of games where you expect Arsenal to hold majority of the possession, and that outlet on the right hand side, White is going to cross in a lot. There was a run towards the end of last season, if you remember, where nobody really owned White, and he used to get a attacking return every second, third game. And it happens in these sort of fixtures, which are fixtures where you expect Arsenal to dominate. So if you are somebody who wants to punt on a Ben White, I don't mind it. So if you're going for a third pick, you either go for a Ben White or you go for a Martinelli is where I am.
Ben White's underlying numbers aren't great for what it's worth. He's had 3 shots in the last 6 and just 5 chances created. But it's more of an eye test thing.
Yeah. What about Raya? Is he a pick for somebody who's getting dodgy on Areola, 18th worst XGC in the team, not looking like keeping a clean sheet anytime soon? Would you recommend Raya? Who's not ineligible to play against Brentford in game week 13, by the way.
Correct. I don't trust Arteta with the goalkeepers. All it takes is one bad pass from Raya or just one bad performance. And as we've seen, it's not like his save percentage is great.
Yeah. And he's not looked very convincing so far, right? So that's where we are.
The chat is asking some questions about Saka's injury now. Let's say if Arteta is coy, it's a standard we will see. And he's still a doubt going into the weekend. Do you think he's a buy still?
No. I don't think he's a buy. Like what? And it's Arsenal, right? They're doing everything in their power to hide the news, to not. I mean, he played the wrong card, the bluff card against Bournemouth. So he's capable of doing it against anybody. It's not like it's City and it's an important game. That's why you try to do this. He's doing this and protecting and giving injury news. Who do you trust more, by the way? If let's say your life was dependent on either Eddie Howe or Mikel Arteta giving you a piece of news that you had to believe, people in the chat, feel free to vote as well. Who do you trust more? It's a question.
Definitely not Eddie Howe. I think I had more of Eddie Howe for a longer period, even at Bournemouth. I still remember the Ryan Fraser 18-pointer, but I think he said Fraser's ruled out. He started and hauled. So I don't trust Eddie Howe with anything. Arteta, at least to a certain extent, you trust him. I think Arteta is quite the opposite. If Arteta says something, I know it's the opposite. Remember against the City game when he said Saka is there and thereabouts? That's what he
Yeah.
messaged you. The fact that he said it, bro, means he's out.
Yeah. You feel like you have a better read on Arteta. Eddie has got a better poker face.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah. Cool.
I think I
Cool.
might still go Saka. I think because I'll wait if we get any news regarding the squad, but I'm pretty confident he'll play unless we get
Even
something
if
definitive.
yeah, at the moment it looks like nothing, right? It looks like a knock. And he said that first he was comfortable playing, and Arteta hope it would be nothing. So that's where we are.
Let's talk about Villa.
Right. A lot of people are looking to phase them out slowly. What are your thoughts there? I mean, the home and away. I wanted to actually ask you this question. Why does a team have such a staggering difference between their home and away form? Like Forest did so well against them. Villa didn't look like they would create much all game. Forest are capable of playing a good, pragmatic, deep block against good opposition. We've seen that against Arsenal previously. We've seen that against City this season. So you need to keep that in mind when we're thinking of captaincy in the later. But why is it the dimensions in a particular ground, etc.? Because Villa it feels to me like the Villa pitch is wider, broader, which sort of plays into Aston Villa's hands. I don't know what's the answer.
I don't think the setup is very different tactically. He plays the same high line everywhere. Ian Forrest were consistently trying to get in behind. I think it's a Villa home crowd. It's a fantastic stadium, fantastic support. They like to do well at home. And now it's just become a thing of confidence. Once you start
Yeah.
building that record, you feel more confident every time you step onto the pitch at home.
Yeah, it's a mental thing, right? You're just a lot more believing in yourself. It might actually work conversely for the away ties as well. But yeah, where do you sit on getting rid of Villa players? When to get rid of Villa players? Because it's one thing that yeah, they've got Fulham away, followed Fulham at home, followed by two away fixtures against very leaky defenses. You're talking about a Spurs that is going to be without Romero and Van der Ven. You're talking about a Bournemouth team that has been leaky. And then they have City and Arsenal at home. Those fixtures are at home. And the reason why I want to dive deeper into this conversation at the moment is because those games against City and Arsenal are happening in the congested December fixture schedule. And then Villa are one of the few teams that have the best fixture in Game Week 18 as well, which is blank Game Week. So like, do you hold your way through them? Because there's a reasoning there to say that, you know what, they have home fixtures against City and Arsenal in that congested schedule. Yes, they're tough fixtures, but they're home fixtures. You need to find a way to maybe bench Matty Cash for those 2 weeks, but the attackers are fine. Or how do you see this?
Let's talk about the attack first. I think Watkins is a perfectly fine hold because, like you said, game week 15 is that midweek one, which we are finding a bit dodgy. Fulham's good. The Tottenham game, I can't imagine what's going to be like. I think both the teams are literally going to be defending at the halfway line. The pitch is going to be so compact. It's going to be, I can see that. So I don't look at that as a bad fixture for attackers at all. Emery is very astute. He will be looking to exploit that high line. Bournemouth, of course, we already know. City and Arsenal, the fact that they're at home makes me have certain faith in them because ultimately they want to keep this home record going. I think they definitely get a result against Fulham. A City and Arsenal game, they'll be desperate to keep the winning run going at home. I think Watkins is an easy hold through these pictures, and we'll talk more about forwards. I don't see any other many options you can hop off rather.
There's one I like. We'll talk about him later. There's one forward I like. And no, it's not Rasmus Højlund. But couple of stats from, again, that beautiful article that Neil did from the big numbers is Matty Cash is 7th for non-penalty XG away amongst all outfielders. It's not just defenders, it's all outfielders. He's top for defenders for NPXG away. So he tends to get majority of his attacking underlying data away. 14 of the 16 shots that he's had inside the box, as well as the 4 big chances that he's had, which is all of them, have been away. So he's sort of like more attacking away. It seems like Emery's setting up in a way where he's giving Cash the license to attack a little more or playing him as winger away. So just something to ponder about when you're thinking about Matty Cash. And Zoff, another question for you. Ollie Watkins has had 12 big chances this season. How many do you think he's finished?
One.
Spot on. Like, we tend to think that Watkins has scored incredible goals and he's done so well, but he's been missing all of his big chances. I just hope he changes because that's worrying. He's tend to score the more difficult goals and he's missing the easier ones.
I bet those all have been created by DRB as well. Certainly feels like it as an owner.
Yeah. Like, so the pick, it's a good segue. I think Cash is somebody maybe you can get rid of after 13 despite those stats, because there's just no clean sheets there for the taking. And we'll segue and talk about that when we talk about Newcastle a little later. But it's not like a hard sell. It's not like an emergency sell. I will uh, put out other fires first on the screen where the players are there before getting rid of my Aston Villa players is where I am sitting. Like, I wouldn't go into any fixture in the next six feeling uncomfortable with an Aston Villa player starting for my team, because at least you're assured of the minutes. I'm not worried about that.
One thing I do want to talk about, we were talking to Danny before coming on, and a lot of people who wildcarded recently are on this situation where they're possibly burning a transfer this week. In which case, I don't mind getting rid of the Villa defender despite the good fixture this week, because that's a move you'd probably want to make this week. I'd do that rather than burning a transfer.
Stuff though, like especially with those cash stats that I sounded out, because if you're looking at Newcastle defenders as a replacement, also they've got Bournemouth away this week, then go Chelsea at home, and then an easier fixture United at home. I'll say that now. So it's not like easy going, right? Maybe Arsenal defender is the clear buy right now because of the fixtures they have in the next 5-6 weeks. I think that's a switch you could potentially make, hoping to get a return immediately this week also.
I would like to raise money because ultimately you're going to want to pump money in attack. Maybe you want to upgrade your striker, other defenders, etc. I would move on to somebody like Lascelles only if you're burning a transfer this week.
Fair enough. Yeah, we'll talk about that. I might be in a similar predicament. But where do you stand on the Villa assets? Diaby hold this week and then reconsider?
I think Diaby is an easy hold till Bournemouth. Then City, Arsenal, we can have a look until then. By then, you maybe have somebody to jump off at the similar price point. I'm just looking at whose fixtures turn. We talk about Eze. Process center, some data on him. We can talk about. I'm just looking at 15, 16. Who has good fixtures?
But let's before the jumping off. I agree with you. I think Diaby is an easy hold. Again, he looked pretty good in the game against Forest. I had a couple of good chances. His passing is just really underrated. I think he's going to get a few assists as well. And when he manages to spike a goal, gets an assist because he's creating chances for his teammates. And one thing is, the good thing that happened was Zaniolo was dropped after the first 45 minutes against that game, in that game against Forest, because Villa improved once Leon Bailey came on. Emery's persistent trying to play Zaniolo. It was frustrating as a owner of 3 Aston Villa assets watching. He killed so many attacks. He's just rubbish. He's not good. That. So if
every time I see him on the team sheet, I'd shake my head.
Yeah, it's not good for our Aston Villa assets is where I'm at with that. Matty Cash hold this week. There are stats which say that he tends to do better away. So I don't think he's a hard sell against Spurs away and Bournemouth away. And then you reconsider what to do with Matty Cash. And Watkins is a hold until there's a clear pick that emerges is where we are at.
He's been pictured back in training for anyone who's not aware. So we do expect him to be available for the weekend.
Yep. I remembered Aston Villa and I forgot. What's your take on Adam Hopcroft's question? Do you sell Son for Saka? I think you're in the camp that you don't mind it. I'm in the camp that no, keep Son. I just think Son's
I'm fine with keeping Son as well, I think. But if Maddison is out for an extended period, that's the only way I would make the move. I think Son is a season keeper.
Yeah.
Even against Chelsea, bro, like he could have scored that goal last minute and this is a 2-2 game. Against 9 men, Son was still getting big chances.
Yeah.
Sorry, with 9 men.
And the thing is that Liverpool plays City in Gameweek 13. On paper, Son is playing Aston Villa at home. Aston Villa away have conceded fewer big chances than only one team, and that's Luton Town. So he looks like a good captaincy candidate in Gameweek 13, and you want to hold on to that in Gameweek 13 as well. That's just an important piece of information.
Very likely going to captain him because City play Liverpool that week. I don't feel comfortable really with Haaland or Salah. Arsenal at Brentford, where again I like Saka more in home matches. I don't think I would captain him in away. So Son is the standout that week.
Yeah, he is. What else do we have as fixtures in Gameweek 13? Humo plays Arsenal at home. Bowen plays Burnley away.
You won't really
It's
captain him, right? Bowen doesn't feel like
yeah.
that. Palace have Luton again. You won't really go as or whoever. It's not a great week for the big sides.
Newcastle play Chelsea at home. There isn't any standout fixture. Like Son is one of the prime captaincy candidates that week. Like I think if you don't own Son, you captain Haaland versus Liverpool at home, and I think that's perfectly fine as well.
Correct.
Like I think it's one of the other. Let's segue into Spurs in terms of the injury problems that they've had. For those that don't know, Romero's because of the red card. First, let's get your views on that game that just happened. Like what went on? What's your perception? I thought Spurs I didn't see the game, I saw the highlights, and from what I've heard, Spurs started off really well. Uh, then there were a few decisions that went their way that shouldn't have gone their way. All of that happened. There were a few offside calls. Then they had two red cards, and then still Spurs created a few chances to make it 2-2. But then the highline gave way. What was your take on the game?
First off, I don't think that the Romero red card was deserved, but it's justice for the hair pull on Cucurella a couple of years ago. I can finally let that go. I think it's similar to the Curtis Jones challenge a few weeks ago. Once a player gets some of the ball and catches him on the follow through, I think you can let it go. But in general, right, the whole VAR thing this whole weekend, it seemed like every referee was just shitting themselves while taking a decision. They're being so
Yeah.
meticulous and taking their time with it. They're just afraid of being the next headline. So that in general took away from that. But as a game, fantastic. Chelsea should have put the game to bed a lot sooner. I cannot believe Spurs were playing with that line, with 9 men. And that just makes you again
Huh.
more invested in their attack, right? Because that just tells you whatever happens, they're always going to attack.
Yeah, that's admirable, and that's like that, and their attitude once they went down to 9 men just makes me think, okay, just need to figure a way to get Son ASAP, get Son ASAP, get Son ASAP. That's my whole argument.
Right.
Whoever might, the problem that Spurs are going to face is Romero is one of the best passers of the ball from the deep. He's been incredible in terms of progressing the ball forward. Now, we were talking to our in-house Spurs friend Baker about this, and he's like, there are two or three things that meant to happen. There are a couple of guys that did well in preseason that Spurs bought that Postecoglou could just throw them in. If it's Bentancur and Madison might play deeper because he needs somebody to progress the ball. I think Richarlison having injury doubts in terms of him going into potential surgery in the international break, and Brennan Johnson being nailed on that side is good for Spurs. I think Brennan Johnson in general is good for Spurs. I think he's a good player. So if Johnson is fit and Madison is fit, I think Spurs are good to go. It doesn't matter. They might have a slight downturn in performance, but their attitude isn't going to change. They are still going to be a front foot side. And, who knows? Son might just say, this is the time, let me stand up and be counted. I don't think it's going to be an issue. We're going to see a downturn in Spurs performance. It's not enough to sell a Son.
I'd
Maybe you
agree with
sell a
that.
Mado.
I'd agree with
Yeah.
that. And I wanted to share this from Rob T FPL again. This is how the markets have shifted since Monday. So Spurs versus Wolves, there was predicted to be 1.95 goals on Monday after the injuries, suspension. Because remember, Udogi is also out. So effectively, three of their back four is changed. It's gone down to 1.7. That's a negative 0.25 shift, which is the biggest we have seen over the week and
Yeah.
possibly over the season. So there is some adjustment in expectations from the bookies end over there.
Yep. Uh, who just also worth mentioning that both Madison, Paul O'Keefe, who's generally a Spurs ITK, he mentioned that neither Madison nor Porro trained for Spurs today. But the good thing is
That
Ange
was
isn't like
yesterday.
Eddie
This
Howe.
is mentioned that the
Yeah.
tweet was yesterday.
And worth mentioning that, it's Ange Postecoglou we're talking about. He's very clear cut in terms of the news he gives us. So you will get clearer information tomorrow in terms of where
And
they
they're the
are.
first game on Saturday,
Yeah.
early kickoff. So we likely will get the team leak as well. And the thing with Madison is he's been managing this injury pretty much the whole season, right? His training time is being managed. So it's not really, you can't really take a conclusive thing from him missing training right now.
Yeah. Let's say you're the owner of Porro or Udogi and they're injured and you're in the market for a defender. Who are you going to? You're going to Arsenal? Are you going to Newcastle? Are you going to Crystal Palace? Are you going elsewhere?
I would still trust Arsenal, I think, and I would still go for Gabriel. I think his rest is out of the way. He might miss one game out of the next maybe 7 or 8, but the value at 4.8 is too good over there. Newcastle, again, the defense is good, but there's something in that I can feel the fixture congestion at certain point will catch up to them.
Uh, the thing is, I think one of Livramento or Lewis Hall are going to be excellent picks, and we'll dive into this a little later. At the moment, it looks likelier to be Livramento. I just want 1 or 2 weeks of data before jumping in there, and I think just whoever emerges as first choice in that pick is going to be the better. We'll discuss that later. Uh, Friend of the pod and long-time listener and our old friend Joe is actually making the switch to Estupinan because he looks likely to play Sheffield United at home. How do you feel about that? Jumping on an Estupinan, who's Brighton have a great run of fixtures. They've got Sheffield United at home, Forest away, Chelsea away, Brentford at home, Burnley away, Arsenal away.
The problem is Brighton's run right after, right? And again, you have to keep in mind they're still very much fighting in the Europa League group. So right after the international break is Forest, Athens, Chelsea, Brentford, Burnley, Marseille, Arsenal. This is pretty much in a space of 25th November to 16th December. That's what, like 20 days? After coming right back from injury, and you have to remember, Stupinan is going to go play for South America as well, for Ecuador. It's going to be a lot of games for him. So what I do like about Estupinan being fit is a knock-on effect on Mitoma. He's going to make Mitoma a lot better, but in this busy period, I don't trust him for minutes at all.
And, if you're looking at the fixtures closely, Sheffield United at home is the money fixture. Do you think Brighton clean either Forest away or Chelsea away? I don't.
I don't either.
Then you've got Brentford at home. Do you think Brighton clean? I don't think so. I think Brentford are the kind of opposition who can take advantage of how Brighton play. They're meant to play opposition like that. Then you've got Burnley at home, again money fixture, and then you've got Arsenal away. So there's two money fixtures for clean sheets, which is Sheffield United at home and Burnley away, where you have the potential of a 15-pointer, looking at somebody like an S2 Pinan. But there's also the risk that he rests his important player in these fixtures. I think he's likely to play Sheffield United, but we don't know what's going to happen in the congestion. So I just wanted to cite these pros and cons because if you're looking at clean sheet fixtures, they aren't great clean sheet fixtures. And Brighton have not kept any clean sheets this season. That's a separate matter. So I want to say that. Great point on Estupinan making Mitoma better because he's been very wide. And, I haven't owned Mitoma and he's been 35, 40% owned. It hasn't bothered me. Like, I feel like Mitoma hasn't improved as a pick from last season. It's just where I am. He's a good pick, but lucky goal against Everton hasn't done anything that's incredibly threatening. I'd much rather other picks that price point. I think Diaby is the better pick at the price point at the moment.
Dunk's numbers are interesting. He has taken 10 shots, a lot of them from outside. But you just can't really invest in the defense that's yet to keep a clean sheet, and we're in game week 12. Obviously, Sheffield United is good, but like we discussed, the other fixtures, not so much.
Yeah. What a shame, though, that his goal was ruled out. What a finish. Even the free kick he took after, where he, I think, clipped the post, also was incredibly. He's got a little bit of a. Lewis Dunk isn't as boring anymore.
He used to be much more of a goal threat, but more for his own team rather with his own goals. I still remember his 3 own goals, I think, he scored in one season.
I have no memory of that. Yeah. Is Ferguson a pick? I mean, I'm asking
again, fixture congestion.
Yeah. Not worth it, right?
Not worth it. De Zerbi is too unpredictable. Right now, you need to buy X minutes, guys. December is coming.
Yeah. So, speaking about X minutes, a lot of people are getting dodgy on Alvarez because he's had, 4 shots in the box or 4 shots in the last 7 games. But he's getting a lot of chance creation. He's on every set piece. City get a lot of set pieces because of just how they play. And people are thinking they've got tough fixtures as well, right? They've got Chelsea away, Liverpool at home, Spurs at home, Villa away. If you talk about an attacker point of view, Liverpool home, Spurs at home, and Villa away are decent fixtures for attackers. Especially if you're talking about Manchester City, I'm not too worried about that. And you think that by default, because they're such important games, Alvarez just plays because he's the most important presser in that team at the moment. People are thinking of shifting to a Darwin. People are thinking of shifting to who else is trendy? Wilson. People are thinking of shifting to a Necktie. I just think Alvarez is the better pick at the moment. Like Darwin also, now that Jota and Gakpo both are fit, like how confident are you of his minutes?
Not very confident at
Like,
all.
that's the thing. It worries me a little bit. Like I was fine. It worries me a little bit, especially Klopp spoke about not just him missing chances. He spoke about the team not pressing at all. And if a team isn't pressing, that worries me because Klopp every week suggested that Jota was finding his way into the team at the end of last season over Darwin because of his counter pressing. That comment alone just worries me.
Yeah.
If Darwin doesn't play tonight in the Europa League, then maybe you go there. But
But
I
that's
just
just
think
this
Alvarez
week,
is
bro. Then you look at it again. I keep
yeah,
mentioning fixture congestion. It's City. They'll probably rest him the Europa League. Then Fulham, Sheffield United, Palace. Then you have Manchester United, whatever they get in the Carabao Cup. He probably will rest in the cup games, but you're going to be sweating team sheets. And in general, we need to have a strong temperament to own Darwin, man. It's not easy. It's not
yeah,
for everyone. It can be very frustrating, as I'm sure you would have realized against Luton last week. That
yeah.
miss, though, that one pass from Salah, that was incredible.
Yeah, it's okay. Experienced campaigner of the Timo Werner experience here, so it's all good.
Yeah,
Been
it's
there,
something
done
you
that.
can handle.
Uh,
I just
yeah,
can't,
yeah.
man.
Immune to it at the moment, and I'm a believer in Darwin. It's fine. If you own him, don't think of selling at the moment.
Definitely not. But let's
Hold
talk
him.
about all
Think
the
about
other
it.
guys we mentioned, right? I think, see, Wilson, dodgy hamstrings. We already saw him substituted with a tight hamstring. Isak is back in fitness. Gordon might play up
Is
top,
Isaac might be back after the international break. That just kills Wilson as a pick there and there. Is
right?
where I am. If Necktie again, Gabriel Jesus is in the Brazilian squad, so you think he's going to play after. Like there's just only one pick I really like for the congested December schedule, and that's Taiwo Awoniyi. He's back. Forest look good. He's first choice. You think the minutes are going to be there, and I was watching Forest closely, right, against Villa, and they've always tended to play in a way where he's sort of like mini Haaland, where their entire attack is built towards creating chances for this guy. Is how they play.
I
He
thought you
got
were
a
going to
lot of
say
chance.
Calvert Lewin, though. That's the one I was going to
Yeah.
suggest. Calvert, the Everton's fixtures aren't that bad because you look at it, it's Palace away, United at home. At home, again, I expect they'll give anyone a go. Then it's Forest and Newcastle and Chelsea, both at home. I'm a DCL fanboy.
But the next five outside of United, I'll take carry forward the joke, are just decent defenses he's playing against, right? Palace and Forest away. Both are known to be defensively good this season. And then there's Newcastle and Chelsea. Again, both good defenses. I just don't see goals there. Look at Forest's run in comparison. West Ham, 18th XGC in the league so far. Brighton at home, you like that for an attacker. Everton at home, you like that. Then you've got Fulham and Wolves away. Then you've got Spurs and Bournemouth at home. It's a great run of fixtures. I think he's a decent shot if you're looking for a steady Eddie person that's going to be useful in the December period.
Our
I just
friend
think he's a
Chris
shot.
W might have something to say about that, as Bruce coined him
But
last pod.
but the Wood isn't going to rise anytime soon. Right? He's injured. Right? Is where we are.
Is he?
What's the news on Wood?
I honestly haven't looked into Forest enough, but Taiwo himself had some injury issues of late. I do remember him missing a few games, but honestly, I haven't monitored Forest attacking options enough because, again, they don't strike to me as an attacking team.
But they're much better. They're like middling territory. They're sort of 10 to 12th for XG as well as XGC. They're a much better team than they were last season, and they're playing in a way which creates chances for Taiwo. Watch the space. If Darwin's expected minutes look very dodgy, he's just somebody I've sort of noted for that congested schedule.
What about your boy
Uh,
Rasmus?
Man, we looked better yesterday. Finally, like the thing that Ten Hag finally did is not play Anthony. He's fucking terrible, and play Garnacho and Rashford. And Rashford actually looked better on the right hand side rather than how clueless he's been. But we need to see a decent run of consistency from this team before we touch it. Is where I am. Like not right now. I think there are better picks in the game, and it's just hold Julian, man. Like it's how I feel about. I spoke on the pod last week. I feel like City are approaching a phase where they just tend to dominate in these games, and I think Grealish and Bernardo Silva being back is just huge for them in these games. And Rodri was injured as well. They're just going to dominate. They've scored. 12 goals in the last 3 games. That's going to continue. And by virtue of just being on the pitch in these games, Alvarez is going to find himself into points because he's got the routes, right? He's on set
He's been
pieces.
unlucky.
He's on.
I think the XGI
He's
last game was close to 1. It was healthy, so
yeah.
he's definitely been a bit unlucky.
You just hold Alvarez. I don't see a better switch because City are going to score goals at the moment. And just while we're talking about City's Doku a pick.
It's tough, man. And there are going to be certain games where Doku is going to start over this period, but over the tougher games, away games, he's going to emphasize control. Like he might put Doku up against Trent, for example, because that's an obvious weakness there. But against Chelsea away, you might see Grealish on that side. It's a gambler's
Against
pick.
Spurs.
You have to be prepared to take the benching on the chin if it does happen. You average out over that 4-5 period.
He's basically what Mahrez was. Essentially, Mahrez was the guy you liked going to when Manchester City had a run of green fixtures. He isn't a pick when City are playing these middling to tough oppositions. Simple as that. It's how I read it.
Just an update from Varun in the chat. He said that Gareth Southgate just had his press conference where he's quoted, "I'm pretty confident that Saka, Maddison and Bellingham can get through and they are keen to be in the squad."
Cool. That sounds nice and positive for all the pixel. A decision for you, Zoff, because Maddison's fit. But I think
I'm going to get Saka before free transfer. I'm going to do it because I have Son already.
Yeah.
There's zero hesitation in my mind. I need to get on the Arsenal attack. I was prepared to let the Newcastle fixture go, but Burnley, Wolves and Luton in the next 4. And even Villa. I should count Villa also as a leaky defense, and then Brighton. These are great fixtures for attackers.
Fair enough. And you don't have any skin in the game right now, right? So it's fine. It's funny how owning a player for a certain period of time, watching them, etc., makes you think in a certain way. I hope you get him and he fires. Maybe all Bukayo Saka needed was a bit of Zoff.
Hope so. Should we talk about Bumo a little bit?
Yeah, man. What a pick. What a good pick. I've come around to fish and chips. I am so ready for fish and chips. I'm going to get him soon enough. Top for NPXG, second for XA amongst all midfielders.
And he's underperforming. Penalties. That's the crazy thing. This is another stat from Neil's article. 2.29 is the difference between Bumo's NPXGI figure and his non-penalty goals and Opta assists. So he actually could have got a lot more points. That's what the scary thing is.
I'm a convert, Zoff. I'm a convert. Here's where I am. That's where I am.
Would you still buy him though with Liverpool, Arsenal and Brighton in the next 4?
If you think about it, you don't mind the Liverpool and Brighton fixtures for a player like Bumo.
I mean, Liverpool away, I would still mind. Liverpool at Anfield are still quite strong.
Yeah.
And Arsenal, I do expect Arsenal to be quite pragmatic as well. They know how to set up now against Brentford.
What's going to happen is he's going to score a penalty in one of these 3 games. He's going to get a goal in the other game because he's inevitable. And then another thing that's going to happen is by the time you're really considering him as a pick in game week 14, when you see Luton at home, you're like, do I want to get a guy who's blanking in game week 18? And in those 4 game weeks, he's going to get 6 returns for his owners, which include 3 penalties, by the way. And you're just going to be there scratching your hair with balls in your hand, thinking, what the fuck am I doing with my life? Why did I not get some fish and chips is where we are. And it's just a good pick. Like, I'm a convert. I am fully into fish and chips. I want some of that. Just a good pick.
Let's talk about Newcastle.
I think you need to prep, by the way, because these are the guys. It's also to do with the December schedule and the 90-minute men, right? Like, not just Bumo, even Jared Bowen. Like, a stat that I read, which is quite cool, is he's got the highest number of shots from inside the 6-yard box. And second, want to take a guess? Who's second on that chart?
I already read Neil's article, so I know.
Yeah, Abdullah Dekure. But again, 90-minute man. West Ham are great on our fixtures. I think you just prioritize these nailed-on 90-minute men over the other picks who look dodgy for minutes. So when you're planning your transfers in the near
is
midterm,
Gordon
look at these.
In that category also, you think now in terms of X minutes with all the injuries they have?
Yeah, man. 60-minute winger, 30-minute striker. What's not to like? Just a good pick.
That goal was good. Well dodgy, though. I was very fortunate to get those points. I have to say that.
Yeah, but
that was my only return of this week.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a good pick. Like you definitely don't sell Gordon, you hold him,
No, to
and then
buy.
you think,
I'm talking about like ultimately as an enabler. If you need to raise some cash, I still think he's a decent buy now.
who are the enablers that we're looking at? There's Gordon, and
There's
there's
Eze.
Goal Palmer, and there's
Eze
Eze.
6.1. So let's say I like him much more than a Ward Prowse. Palmer and Gordon is again a bit interesting because Palmer's stats are a bit weird, right? In terms of NPXG, like I'll just bring up the stats over here. Yeah, so in terms of XGI, he's 5.04. That's just below Salah amongst all attackers over the last 6 game weeks. But again, you look at his non-penalty XG, 0.98. But you look
He's
at
a chance creator.
he's a chance creator. 5 big chances created, which is joint top.
Yeah, he's just a chance creator in that team who's on penalties. And Nkuku's what's going to happen off when Nkuku's back, which
I
isn't
think he
very
goes
far
up
away
top.
now.
He has to go up top. They'll probably
Yeah,
be a
Jay
bit like
Kishan.
cautious with his fitness. Jay Kishan is going to be relegated to the bench. I'm glad he got the hat trick. That feels good for him on a personal level.
Is he nailed on though? Because what's going to happen once Nkuku is back? Because
I
there's
think
Gallagher.
Nkunku, you're going to see 3-4 games with Nkunku coming off the bench. That's when Jackson's minutes will be in doubt. But he'll probably
When
get subbed off.
Palmer's minutes, you mean?
I don't think Palmer's minutes will be in doubt at all. I think Palmer's role in the team is very unique. I think he's possibly even more nailed on than Sterling is now.
Interesting. Cool. So do you prefer him to Gordon?
No, I still like Gordon. I still like somebody like I think the Newcastle's fixtures are better, and I think Newcastle are much more functional attack as well. The data is still very good in XG non-penalty, the way on top. Chelsea's there, but again, he's relying on Jackson to create his chances. Let's say if Jackson hadn't scored those 2 goals in injury time, we're talking about a much lower score for Palmer as well, because that was some bonus attached with that chance creation too. So I like Gordon much more direct. But there's
And just a
also like
better attack,
0.8,
right?
0.7, 0.8
Yeah.
price difference. So that factors into it.
Yeah. So the safe answer is both are good for their price. But
Both
I'm
are
with
good.
you. If
Yep.
not sitting on the fence, I prefer Gordon too, despite the pens, I think.
But what about Eze? Now, some interesting stats for Eze as well. 24.6 minutes per chance created presented to Everett Eze is an average better by no other FPL midfielder. He's also supplying a chance for his teammates every 35 minutes. Now, this is all prior to injury, but his returns still weren't that great. What do you think? Because he is expected to start this weekend, and the fixtures for the next 4-5 are good.
He's a good pick. He's got the ruts to points. He's a very Pras pick, and spoiler alert, Pras is likely looking to get him for Nketiah this week if it looks like Nketiah could not be starting. But that's what he is. He's a good, steady pick. He's got free kicks, penalties, but I don't feel strongly about him at the moment.
Pras is going to do the pump and dump against somebody in the chat. Will be very interested about that.
Yeah, man. He's using and moving on like this. He's like, you got me that 22 pointer, and you're out of here. I'm going to get some penalties from Eze now. Easy peasy. What do you think about Eze as a pick? Do you feel strongly about him?
It's a very difficult one because I've never been enamored by him because I don't view Palace as a very attacking side. And it goes to the same argument.
Exactly.
The talisman for a lower scoring side or a bit part player for a higher scoring side. It's very difficult. Neto versus Gordon was something similar, and I sided with Gordon for that reason. So that would probably
be. Gordon is just a part of the front three and part-time striker for top 3 in-form attack in the league.
Yeah, I think I would go Gordon, Palmer, Eze in that order.
Yeah, I think so. And he's thinking of selling Palmer too for Eze. Pras is a very
brutal.
Pras is he's gotten all sexy ever since that chat happened in our podcast live. He's just collar up, playing for it every week. And it's you almost don't want to don't mind jumping onto his coattails and picking Eze because you know that it's going to happen. Pras is in a hot zone at the moment. Everything he touches, and I'm not just talking about the players, turns into goal.
He's hitting out of the park. like Glenn Maxwell. We'll talk a little bit about the
Yeah,
cricket post-pod
yeah,
as well.
we
It's been
yeah.
incredible.
Right, Newcastle
Newcastle.
defense. I want to.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people are thinking what to do and are wondering whether Livramento is a pick, not a pick. Is Trippier going to be a worse pick if he potentially has to play on the left side? What do you see there, Zoff?
Now, how is the dilemma? Now, do you play your best player in your best position, or do you play the other guy who's not so comfortable on the left? If I was I would play Livramento on the left and Trippier on the right, because Trippier now is the heartbeat of the team. He's the engine of the team. Your best player has to play in the best position. And I think Livramento is very good on the left as well. We know him from Southampton. He was very attacking, good for goals and assists. I think he's a much more developed player also than Lewis Hall. While at Chelsea, he deputized for Chilwell a few times, but I think he's much more suitable in midfield rather than left back. His passing range over there is quite good. He does a lot of work off the ball in terms of his pressing. So I think in terms of minutes, Livramento is a really good pick for the upcoming period. The versatility helps a lot, but I don't think we're going to be seeing much of him in the front three, maybe in the last 10, 15 minutes of games, which isn't a bad thing. To be said, now we're getting all these 110 minutes, 100 minutes games where you might have a game state goal. Like we saw Tyreek Mitchell score. Stuff is
Yeah,
happening with the fullbacks with these late
yeah.
games. I like Livramento as a pick.
Agree with all the sentiments. I think Trippier plays in his best position because the heartbeat of the team, like you mentioned, is the chemistry between Trippier and Almiron. Like they funnel their entire attack through that right hand side. He's the creative hub of that Newcastle team, and Eddie Howe is a good manager, as he's shown us to be. I don't think that changes. But it still could be Lewis Hall. And I'm not fully convinced just yet. I am of the opinion that I have the flexibility and time to watch that for a week or two, see how that sort of develops, and then jump on the guy who I feel like is the nail wing back, which at the moment we think 90% likely is Livramento. Both of us are on the same page there. That's
But
where
if
we are.
if you're buying one today, would it be Lascelles or Livramento? I'd feel more comfortable with Lascelles because I don't see Botman returning this year in December. They're being very, very cautious with him. Now the news is might even require surgery. They're waiting to see
Yeah.
how that develops. And Lascelles, from what I do remember in the previous seasons, has a bit of goal threat as well.
Yeah. And you think there could be some rotation with Livramento and Hall also, and it's sort of like performance dependent? Maybe.
It could be very much so. And he doesn't generally like to mess with his centre backs much at all. And generally his back four. There's some quotes from him from the previous season as well. He likes to keep it settled. But in terms of X minutes, I do trust Lascelles a lot more.
I have a transfer to make, and I'm thinking about maybe getting Livramento. It's just an upside sort of pick for not much cost. Right, he's still 4.3, right? If I'm not
Yes,
mistaken.
4.3. The upside is definitely there. And I do like the fact that he might be in the front three later on in games. It's more of an LR pick, definitely.
Yeah. If you're going for this week, yeah, it depends whether you're a Zoff or an LR. Both are decent picks, but it's better to buy Livramento in maybe a week or two so that we know for sure that Hall doesn't have that position.
I'd agree with
Fair,
that. We have
fair.
a few little bit more to judge now. If you want to go one right now, I think Lascelles is safer.
Yeah. Cool. That's Newcastle covered. What else do we want to talk about?
Well, I'm just having a look at the questions. Again, we've covered Arsenal defense, covered Hopcroft's question.
Palace defense.
I think they're still decent to jump on. I think Johnston is probably the keeper to go to if you're getting sick of Areola, who I think is fine, to be honest, for the next few games. If you do want to hop off, I think Johnston is the one to go for. I wouldn't be looking at Rhea at all.
It's just with Johnston, he's sort of like a 4-week pick. If you're in the market for a Palace defender, it's Everton home, Luton away, West Ham away. And Luton away, West Ham away aren't nailed on clean sheet fixtures.
They're not.
Yes. I feel like you can swerve the Palace defense at the moment. Like, because after 16, you're seeing Liverpool, City, Brighton, Chelsea, Brentford, Arsenal. Terrible
That's
run of
tough.
fixtures for clean
That's
sheet.
tough. Even for Hodson's side, he's relying heavily on saves. That's why I like sticking with Areola there.
Yeah, I'm with the opinion swerve because it's exactly a 4-week pick, your Palace defender. It isn't a long-term pick because there's not even one clean sheet fixture after 16.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'd get a Newcastle, maybe even double up on the defense. before I go
Yeah.
to Palace, probably.
Incredible, man. Even their performance against Arsenal was so good. So good. Bullied them, dominated them. It was
But they
great
are
to see.
suffering midweek. It's like their performance against Dortmund, and that's what most Newcastle fans are saying. They could accept losing if you play to potential, but they are visibly below par. The midweek games
Mm.
are sucking a lot of life out of them.
Yeah, fair. And to be fair to Eddie Howe, he's trying as much as possible to sort of rotate his team and make it fresh,
The
etc. Also, because
injuries aren't helping at
um,
all.
yeah, and Newcastle is one of those teams where you need those players to be. It's like Liverpool of 2 years ago, right? Those players need to run all the time. The amount of pressing they do is insane. It's nuts.
It's
It
insane.
requires insane levels of fitness. It's much more manageable if there is juice left in the legs.
Right. The data is
Yeah,
obviously all still very good. They're still right there in the bottom five for XGC. Everton and Wolves are also right there, but I don't think Wolves or Fulham are really of interest to us. Palace's data is
yeah,
a bit middling.
yeah.
I still like the Arsenal guys, man. If you don't have an Arsenal
Ars-
defender, go with Gabriel.
Arsenal and Newcastle. I'm with you. I think you swore Palace.
Let's talk a bit about Simicas.
You hope he doesn't play tonight. If he plays tonight, then you worry.
A little
Is
bit,
where I
yes,
am.
because there are two ways to look at it. Now, against Brentford, you could use Gomez because they are very good at set pieces and these long throw ins. But once Simicas came on, I thought the team was significantly better. There was a
Yeah.
clear unbalance with Gomez on that side. The attack on the left suffered a lot. So I'm actually a bit more optimistic on Simicas' prospects after what I saw that game.
Yeah. Varun actually makes a good point. Harvey Barnes is expected back early December. Just a little bit of a red flag for Gordon in terms of minutes that might.
Yeah, but
Uh,
we'll get an idea again in terms of we see minutes off the bench and all
yeah,
that stuff. And again, Gordon can play up top, right wing.
yeah,
He's generally right now
yeah,
looking like the team in the front three. He's the most dynamic player.
yeah. Yeah, sorry. You're talking about Simicas. I agree with you. They look better. They look more balanced. It's just worrying if he doesn't, if he plays again tonight. Like that
It is,
would.
and again, it's a perfectly fine hold. But while buying now, you'd worry with the whole December period, the game week next, right after the international break. I think they play City,
Yeah.
so buying now would be a bit dodgy.
Hold for sure if he plays this today.
Yes, I don't think again necessarily read too much into Brentford because the deep block you would want Simicas there. I think Brentford are very much
Yeah.
deep block and counter.
And what's the narrative that he didn't play against Luton is because Gomez would be better at dealing with the physicality of Luton is what the thinking was, is what our general assumption is what the community's borrowed assumption is.
Absolutely same with Liverpool forums, but they're all asking for Simicas to be put back in.
Fair. Question to you, Zoff. If you're in the market for a 6.5 million midfielder at the moment, do you buy Betoma? Do you buy Diaby? Or do you roll the dice on a certain excellent goal scorer and misser of easy goals, Kudus? Is Kudus a pick?
I don't trust Kudus with this period coming up. I think West Ham is just Bowen or bust. I still think it's Gordon, man. Gordon or maybe I think Boomo is just slightly out of budget. You had mentioned 6.5. Otherwise, I would just say Boomo. I'm looking at the numbers up here for NPXGI for these sub 7 million mids. I still think it's Gordon.
Kudus
Mitoma
could be a
second.
pick.
Mitoma
I
second.
want to just see what happens when Paqueta comes back into the team. But I don't see a world in which, because every time Kudus has played, he's been their best player. The sort of shifting Bowen more central. I won't be surprised if Antonio's out. And he looks good for FPL. He's what Bowen was in terms of playing that side and being very direct. He's a goal scorer, knows where the back of the goal is. He could be a pick at 6.5 because West Ham are one of those teams that have a great run of fixtures. Like you have little more proof that he's first choice and he's looking like a really good pick. It just depends on the threshold of information you require before jumping into such a situation.
Right. I'm not even against Diaby, to be honest. I don't view Spurs as a difficult fixture. The next three are all right. But again, the right after, it'd probably be third or fourth over there in the pecking order.
Yeah. Cool. I think that's everything that we needed to discuss. Yeah, all the questions, etc., covered as
bus
well.
teams, and we can do a Q&A, I guess, if you have a few minutes after. Let's just go through our bus teams. Oh, yeah,
Captaincy.
captaincy. Of course, how could we forget? I'm just used to having the Haaland thing every week. I think captaincy, two primary options this week, Saka and Salah.
Like if Arsenal showed a little more form, then I would be happy to pick Saka by nature of the opposition they face. But they just don't. And I don't know if I'm there yet in terms of trusting uh, Saka because he showed nothing in the past few weeks. If I was to punt, I'd actually throw and roll the dice on a Martinelli because I think the fixture is more suited to him. He's making those runs. He's looking fitter, hungrier. But I just trust Salah more. Liverpool at home, best attack in the league. There's no reason to not go there. Would you be tempted by Ollie Watkins versus Fulham at home?
No, I don't trust Watkins at all. I still look at him more as maybe the odd goal in return, and I don't think Fulham are a bad defense per se.
Let's say you're somebody who doesn't. What are your thoughts first on Saka versus Salah? Do you agree with what I said?
I do agree with Salah being more consistent, but Brentford are obviously a much tighter defense and they know how to play against these big teams. Burnley are just shambolic defensively. And I like the fact that I like backing teams for captaincy their players after they've just come off a loss. I think they end up showing some sort of reaction. It's a bit different for Arsenal because they sort of got that out of the way last night in the Champions League. But you expect of these big sides, the guys who are challenging at the top end of the table, to show some reaction right after a loss. So I do expect them to score a few. And the projections agree with that. I think Arsenal are slightly higher than Liverpool, which just shows how much the bookies rate Liverpool's attack when you factor in how much of a better team Brentford is than Burnley.
Yeah. And Salah's more talismanic, right? Like, and if both teams get 2 penalties, you're at least sure that Salah's going to get
Salah's
2
going
of
to take them. And again, with Saka, they could get 2-0, 3-0 up and then sub him off at 65 to protect him. So there's also X minutes over there with Salah.
Yeah.
Few other options. Sonaldo is in the chat. He's asking about the Sun captaincy. As a shout, but Wolves, again, the defensive data is good. They set up very defensively against the big sides. Not that big.
And we don't know how the lack of CBs and Udogi is going to affect them. Like, you need more proof before going there, especially when you have Arsenal and Liverpool playing at home and even Watkins playing at home.
Yep. So I wouldn't be in the top 3 there for me. I don't think Haaland is a bad shout in any game.
Yeah, I agree. Like, if you're confused and you don't know what to do, put it on Haaland and I think it's fine. I just think it's fine. Like, because were Chelsea looking solid against Spurs, Zoff?
No, we gave up some very good chances. And City in big games, they just know how to do it. But the only thing is, I think Guardiola will emphasize control. Is after 1-0, 2-0, shut up shop.
And you'd expect Grealish to play this game against Chelsea. You'd expect Foden to play. I just like it when these guys are playing because I think he's better for Haaland. I don't think Doku is actually very good for rolling Haaland as a player because there are times where he tends to be selfish. He moves fast. He doesn't look up and funnel all the chances to Erling Haaland as much as a Jack Grealish does. So I just think playing with those players is better for Erling Haaland as well.
Outside from the popular options, I think Mitoma.
No. I think you need to get these popular options if you don't own them. I don't think Mitoma is a captaincy option. I need to see him. Too punty. Brighton had 0.3 XG versus Everton or something of that sort. Like, and then 2 weeks ago, they had a 0.5 XG game also. Yeah, they're very well capable of getting 2+ XG against a team like Sheffield United, but they aren't the same team this year that they were last year with Mac and Casido playing for them.
I'd agree with that.
Mac is not going to be playing for Liverpool. You think that's going to impact them? I think Gakpo maybe settles in because even Jones isn't fit. So I think Gakpo probably plays in midfield now.
What's wrong with McAllister?
I think he's suspended for a game.
Okay, I didn't clock that. That's interesting. They could put Gravenberg, whatever his name is there. Right?
They've been playing Gravenberg, Zoff, Soboslai and McAllister as a 3 in midfield. So now somebody needs, and Mac has been playing the slightly deeper role. So it's about who normally Curtis Jones would fit in there, but he can't come now. So what happens now? Probably Gravenberg goes deeper and then Gakpo and Soboslai play the front two. But he's thinking about a Brentford team also. So, does it make you worry about Salah at all? It doesn't. to me.
I just generally don't like captaining against Brentford. But Salah is my boy. I think that's where I will be going.
Yeah.
Top three,
Cool.
I think Salah, Saka, Watkins.
Salah, Haaland, Saka for me. Oh,
So Haaland over
like,
Saka for you. Would that have been the
yeah.
same if there wasn't any injury doubts?
Injury doubts and tunnel vision being a Bukayo Saka owner for the last 2 weeks.
I just think Saka at home is a different beast altogether.
Yeah, but not based on what has happened in the last 5, 6 games. Yes, he's capable of exploding because that's what the historicals have showed us, but he's not on that run of form at the moment. I just don't trust him. I trust Burnley though to concede the chances.
That's what it
Like
is.
that's the
It's
thing.
opposition, and
Yeah.
again, Arsenal at home, flat track
Yeah.
bullies, not from now, from
Yeah.
historically.
Yeah.
I'm actually
If
leaning a bit
Arteta
more
tomorrow,
towards Saka. The more I think about it, I'm actually leaning a bit towards Saka, but let's see what tomorrow brings.
just know that if Arteta says Nectar is fit, don't go Saka. Outside
Fair
of
enough.
that punt on him, because I think Trossard is good for both of them.
Fair enough. It's going to be close, but currently I'm on Salah. Let's discuss our bus teams.
Yes, let's discuss our bus teams.
Wait, let me just
Oh
put-
yeah, Liverpool fans are Endo's predicted to slot in for
Oh yeah,
McAllister.
completely forgot about
Yeah.
Endo.
Is that
This
my
is-
team?
Yes, that's your team.
Guardiola, Simicas, Gabriel, Cash, Martinelli, Salah, who's currently my captain, Saka, Diaby, Haaland, Darwin, and Watkins. Maguire, unfortunately, on the bench against Luton at home after his heroic effort, tripling his score against anybody else in my team, since we are using those things that I mentioned at the start of the pod. Don't know what move to make. If any press conference news forces my hand tomorrow, I might look at making a move.
I think
Otherwise,
cash out, plug in Maguire, do cash out to a Newcastle defender to prepare for the run that's coming, because you don't want cash from next week. Definitely don't burn
Why
a
not?
transfer.
Why not? No, I won't burn a transfer. I was thinking of Maguire to Livramento.
Oh yeah, that's fine as well. But the only thing is
Yeah.
Manchester United, let's talk about them a little bit. I know in the captaincy discussion, they were very high up in the projections. Do you think somebody like a Bruno is a shout at home? I don't
No,
mind.
no.
No?
No, no.
How the tables have turned.
Yeah. And Luton aren't an easy bus to break. They've shown resilience. I don't think anybody from Manchester United currently are like a middling team that have just about managed to beat poor to middling opposition by 1 goal in the last few games. That also not fully deserved is what the current status of Manchester United is. Until that tide turns, don't touch them.
Wow, man. Things must be really bad if you're not optimistic.
Yeah. We just not shown any sort of play to encourage us to go there.
Fair enough.
That's why I'm thinking about Livramento, because I think I'm fairly there in terms of being convinced. I'll be in Neil's DMs tomorrow and chat with him, get the confirmation bias from him, and then make the move.
But again, isn't Maguire more playable going forward than Cash?
No, man. So because it's Luton and Everton right now. Yeah, and it's actually next week that you want Maguire to play because it's Everton away and Liverpool plays City. So Simicas isn't playable.
Exactly.
Yeah. But Cash Neil's big numbers, man. Cash gets all his chances and attacking returns away
and
from
Spurs
home.
highline, he's going to be one of the runners again.
Yeah. Like Maguire, though, I must say, it's not important from an FPL point of view, but he's getting on the end of our set pieces at the moment.
He always does. Even from the Leicester times, I remember.
Yeah, but not in the last year or so. Like he's back to Leicester levels now. He's got a certain captaincy air about him where he's one of the few that's actually really, really trying hard. It's admirable in terms of how he's made his way into the first team. Just to give you some impetus, we actually looked better with Maguire and Evans than we did with Varane coming in. Like Evans had a little air of calm. Varane, I don't know, man.
Evans got injured yesterday, right?
Evans got injured yesterday, and we got a red card for nothing. We were like this was the United chat, right? We were 2-0. We were coasting. We were playing probably one of the better football games we've had to view as a United game. You're watching 35 minutes and United are coasting, creating chances. Copenhagen are getting nothing. And then Rashford gets a red card and we concede two by the time halftime comes in. There was 13 minutes of extra time. And then Jazzy, our good friend Jazzy, just says, it felt wrong. It felt wrong to be a fan of Manchester United and watch your team coast by 2 goals and not worry about it. Chaos was just imminent. And that's currently how the situation is as a Manchester United fan. We're just immune to it right now.
I still don't mind Bruno. If you still own him, want to go all differential as a captaincy?
No, man, go Watkins then. Like, they're a team that's actually scoring 3+ goals every time they play at home.
I'm still in shock at all of this, LR.
Yeah.
It's very different to me.
I almost feel like you do not believe in Bruno's credentials at all, but you just want to constantly hear it from my mouth in terms of how rubbish it is.
This is what we call in India ugly.
Like the fucking bait is set up and I'm just falling for it every single time. Yeah.
The chat is asking if you're tempted to play Maguire over Tsimikas at all.
I might consider it if Tsimikas is playing today.
Fair shout.
Yeah.
Anything else?
That's it, man. That's it. Yeah.
This is my team.
I might play Maguire. He earned his spot in my team. Maybe I'll play him.
If I do remember, Luton do have some weaknesses as set pieces themselves.
Yeah.
Now, my team, Areola, Cash, Tsimikas, Porro, Salah, Son, Maddison, Gordon, Diaby, Haaland and Watkins, Archer and Kabore on the bench. Captaincy currently on Salah. 0.6 in the bank, which exactly funds Maddison to Saka.
Nice. I like the move. Having thought about it, I like the move. Like, not much else to say. So, Zoff, like, we need to think about something. Like, game week 17, Newcastle's fixtures read Fulham at home, Luton away, Forest at home. Like, we need to get trips, man. Like, how are we getting trips into our team? Like, something sort of we need to
cross the bridge when we come to it, I guess, because I think that's going to be close to Salah heading off to AFCON.
Yeah. Like, we need to get trips, man. Like, again, Neil's article, my God, how many times have we quoted it this week? I mean, if ever there was an ad for Fantasy Football Scout members area, this podcast is it. But, and if you're buying the membership, just click on the link in our description below, because then we also it helps us out as well. But the stat is that in the last 7 or 8 games, he's got a minimum bonus of 2 points in all games except one. Like, that's how much he's shitting points at the moment. Like, we need to get trips. Like, if he plays again right back, we need to think about why the hell are we not prioritizing him? Like Alon told me this will happen. Baker told me this would happen on Wildcard. He's like, I don't see a world in which all these other picks that you're looking for, high upside attackers, are going to score more points than Trips. Trips just shits points week on week. So, need to make a plan for him, man.
I need to start fixing my bench. I still have Botman and Kabore lurking there. I want to get rid of Porro also soon. Tsimikas is going to be dodgy. My defense is a bit of a shambles. I need to sort that over the next few.
I mean, what? Kabore, who almost got a 12-pointer against Liverpool, Kabore? Like, he was great. He was really good against Liverpool. I hope he keeps his spot.
I'm probably going to play him the next week at home to Palace when I bench Tsimikas.
If Kabore keeps his spot this week, he's a good hold, because Luton are showing that
he started the last few games. In the middle he had the spot thing where he was losing his spot, but he started the last few. The only thing is it's going to be game week 13 right after the IB where he plays in Africa.
Somebody in the chat shouted out Jared Bowen as a captaincy option against Forest at home.
The weird thing about Bowen, right? Remember that season where he was prolific, all his goals were coming at home? This year, the trend is completely reversed. I don't know if it's a tactical thing or what it is. All his returns are coming away.
Yeah. He's just a good pick again. Man, I need to get all these steady eddies, but who do you sell, man? Who do you sell? Like, it's tough this season.
It's tough.
Yeah. 2 podcasters looking like Haaland and Salah this season is where we are at. And I think it's most FPL managers, because selling anybody is just scary. Like, even you're selling Maddison. Selling Maddison who's fit is scary. Like,
I think FPL General made a good quote, and I think we should mention it. It's time to get comfortable making uncomfortable decisions. That's what the theme is of the season.
Yeah, it just is what it is. I think General will be fairly uncomfortable next time we invite him onto this pod, though, because of previous happenings. Let's not get into that. Shout out, General. We love you out here. Just wanted to say that. Cool. Are we doing some questions? I don't mind.
I
I
think
don't mind 10 minutes.
we've covered most of it. It's almost 90 minutes. Shall we? I don't see anything in particular in the chat. Let's wrap up.
Cool, cool. All right. See you next week. To all our Indian viewers and listeners, happy Diwali and a very happy New Year. We'll probably see you post Diwali and New Year. Be nice, celebrate with your family, have a good meal. Good luck with your cars. Any words for them?
Nothing much. I'm going to be watching the Office Diwali episode. It's a ritual
Yeah,
every year. Love the whole
yeah.
Michael Scott thing.
Let's do a kurta on the next pod to commensurate Diwali. What do you reckons of?
I have to get that stuff ironed from my closet and all that. So I haven't worn that since my brother's wedding. So I don't even
Yeah,
know
yeah.
where it is right now.
All right. All right. Cool. We'll see you. Good luck this week and take care, guys. Bye bye.
Thanks for joining
Hit like and
us.
subscribe.
Hit like and subscribe. Join our Discord. The link is in the description and in the page you see over here. Thanks.
And good luck to Pras. Go get him, Tiger.
See you guys.